Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Gukarastvandhakaro Vai Rukarastvanivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shanno Mitra Sham Varunaha Shanno Bhavat Varyama Shanna Indro Brihaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Vritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram Om Shanti 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 Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Yaschandasam Rishabho Vishwarupaha Chandobhyodhyamrita Atsambabhuva Samendro Medhaya Aspranotu Amritasya Devadharano Bhuyasam Shariram Me Vicharshanam Jihva Me Madhumattama Karna Abhyam Bhuri Vishruvam Brahmanav Koshosi Medhaya Pihitaha Shrutam Me Bhavopaya Shanti 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 Aham Vrikshasya Reriva Kirtif Prishtam Gireriva Urdhva Pavitro Vajineva Swamritamasmi Dravinagum Savarchasam Sumedha Amritokshitaha Iti Trishankor Vedanu Om Shanti 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 Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Apyayantu Mama Angani Vak Pranaschakshuh Shrotramatho Balamindriyani Cha Sarvani Sarvam Brahmopanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Mama Brahma Nirakarot Anirakarnamastu Anirakarnam Me Astu Tadatmani Nirateya Upanishadsu Dharma Te Mai Santu Om Shanti 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 Om Manasi Pratisthita Mano Me Vachi Pratishthitam Aviravirma Edhi Vedasya Maani Isthaha Shrutam me ma prahasihi ahaditena ahoratran sandadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavatu tadvaktaramavatu avatu mam avatu vaktaramavatu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Ratankan apivataya manaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bhadran karnebhih shrunuyama devaah. Bhadram pashyema akshabhiryajatraah. Sthirairangaistuštuvagum sastanubhi vyashema devahitam yadayuhu swasti na indro vruddhashravah swasti na pusha vishvavedah swasti nastarksho arishtanemihi swasti no brihaspatirdadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Anam vidadhati purvam yo vai vedamscha prahinoti tasmai anbhagevamatma buddhi prakasham mumukshur vai sharanamaham prapadye. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om ityetadakshara idagum sarvam tasya upavyakhyanam bhutam bhavat bhavishyaditi sarvam omkara eva. Bhutam bhavat bhavishyaditi sarvam omkara eva. Yachanyat trikalatitam tadapyonkara eva. Alatitam tadapyonkara eva. Let's pronounce Karika number 7, which is on page 3 of this English book. Vibhutim prasavam tvanye manyante shrishti chintikaha swapna maya swarupeti shishtiranyai vikalpita. So vibhutim prasavam tu anye manyante shrishti chintikaha swapna maya swarupa iti shrishtihi anyaihi vikalpita. So we look at the anvaya of the Sanskritam. Just below that, anye shrishti chintikaha tu prasavam vibhutim manyante. Anyaihi shrishtihi swapna maya swarupa iti vikalpita. So this is the this is how the anvaya is. This is how the poetic verse is translated into a complete sentence. So the topic we are, just a reminder, and again I would encourage you to review the previous classes before you come here. I think that's a very useful exercise. It might take you some habit to get into, but I think it's a very good habit. So the topic that we are pursuing which is very appropriate at the end of the first 6 verses, which is to distinguish between our experiences and ourselves. In other words, the distinction between personality and the person, the distinction between roles and the actor. So this is the topic. At the end of these 6 verses, before we go, so far it was the Mandukya is starting with what you are not, what you are playing a role, but you are confused about it. It is exactly like supposing there is a person who is playing a role, but one day he's had a bit too much to drink. Imagine that. Normally the person doesn't have any problem. Here it's different because we have never known the distinction between the role and the person. We've never known that. It is anadi. We actually are, it's like ignorance has no beginning. Absolutely no beginning. It has always been there. There's nothing strange about it. And so, unlike that, if we postulate a situation where there's a person who otherwise was well aware of the distinction between the role and the himself, but one day had too much to drink. And what happens is that alcohol diminishes your ability to think properly. So you revert back to, in fact, I think a person who is an inebriate, who has had a lot of drinks, it becomes more like an animal. How? Because what the animal also does is to be aware of the gross manifestation of itself, that I am a somebody and these are different people from me. This animal also knows. But in terms of the introspection of who I am and what my personality is, it's not able to do that. This is how Ishvara has made the animals, that they're still progressing. So by drinking, you go back to the very basics of the animal state, where you can just distinguish between some things and so on, but any fine thinking is just gone. And so imagine a person who is acting and cannot distinguish between the role and himself or herself. And one can postulate where you are acting in a play and somebody misbehaves with you as part of the script. Somebody is slapping you and something or the other. It's part of the script. And this person today is inebriated. What is the word?
Inebriated.
Inebriated. So he's had a lot of drink. And so he's forgotten the distinction between the role and himself. And he doesn't like the fact that the other person is slapping him. And he starts fighting. And now the whole play is just ruined. It's not part of the script. He's supposed to take it. Or, it'll be better to be just say a woman. It just takes it because, her husband or somebody just slaps her. And she is, she's not supposed to mean in the play she doesn't fight back. So here the whole play is finished. So and exactly this is our situation. This is our situation in life. That our transactions are based on roles. This is a very sophisticated script, which we also wrote, by the way. It's not as though we are victims of this script. That's not the way it should be done. So it'll become clear as we study this. It's kind of like, maybe the way to do that is that there is a very intelligent script writer. So you will look at some of these movies, both Hollywood and Bollywood and so on, they're highly skilled people that have to weave together the storyline in a way that it'll be attractive to people. There's a lot of thinking involved. What are the trends in the society? How could this thing, what is it called? This Padmavati. So this controversy about Padmavati and so on. I mean, leaving aside that's a separate thing, but there's a lot of thinking that goes into it. So and then also there are inputs given to the person. You know, there's probably suggestions on how to do this, let's do this, etc. And then he puts it all together. So similarly, the script that we are following in our lives is finally put together, not finally, it is put together by Ishvara, but a lot of inputs from us. A lot of inputs from us. So this should not as though we are not victims of this or anything. We are participants of this. Anyway, so the thing is that that this whole life is really nothing but a play. And we get upset because we are drunk by the very powerful drug of Maya. It's really a fact. This is exactly what our scriptures say. That it is amazing. It is just like a very powerful alcohol, where you are not able to distinguish between the role and the actor. But just because you cannot distinguish doesn't mean it's not true. It is true, and in fact, if you can say the very job that we have is to get rid of it. You know, just like supposing you have a hangover. You've had a hangover. Then the job you have to do is to have some coffee. And supposing you've had some drinks and so on. I was telling you this, that there was only one time when I was in college, I was so drunk. And because from the very beginning, it's so interesting, you know, all these samskaras all come in. My father and mother never had any alcohol. There was no alcohol in the home. I never had it. My father would drink some brandy as a medicine. So he would have it, he was asked to drink some, I don't know why, but anyway. So, but we never had any alcohol. But when I went to college, also I never had any alcohol. To this day, other than, you know, maybe something, you know, you taste a cocktail from someone just to taste or something, I never had any real alcohol. But the thing that we had in our college was beer. And beer we could have because you could just feel that, you know, you don't drink very much and so on. I never knew how much alcohol you can have in beer if you keep on drinking it. So I remember one time there was a funny thing because in our, remember the old Hindustan car, which should take about maybe 5 people. There were 11 of us. I still remember that. We went to a movie in Dhanbad, Bihar, and so the taxi driver kept saying, there were some other people and said, "Can you take us?" They were already 6 or 7 up. He says, yeah, come more. And the taxi driver, who was the driver, was sitting on the side, near the door. And there's like 4 other people sitting next to him. And there's 6 people on behind us. It was a mess. So all 10 of us then came back, and then we had beer. And I have never been so drunk in my life. My whole thing was just completely, and I resolved right there and there, this is not what I want to do in my life. And so I still drink maybe a beer here and there, some wine glasses I still have here, but I never have lost my thinking. Never. I don't want to do that. Anyway, so in this manner, so just like you change the effect of the alcohol by having some coffee or something like this, similarly is this teaching. So what the teaching does is to make sure you regain the distinction between the person and the personality, the actor and the role. And the advantages of that are unthinkable. They're really unthinkable. It is such a mistake we make that it is unbelievable. So the topic we are on, just now to close the loop, is to make some comments on the personality, on the roles. Before we go into a more a detailed analysis of the person, the actor, which will happen in verse numbers, in our Mandukya, verse number 7, which we are almost coming there. So in the Karika, starting with verse number 6, then today's 7, 8, and 9, these 4 Karikas is bringing out something which is a major topic. Major topic. And I really applaud Swami Maheshanandji for, because his book on this is just enormous. The amount of depth he has gone into is just incredible. So the way he has done that is to encapsulate the main topic of the Karika, which is done in the word Vyavastha. So we did that already. But let's make sure that we understand the importance of what he's saying and the importance of what our attitude towards living and our transactions, how to distinguish between the role and so on and so forth will be. And so just to give you an idea, and I think we will see more details today on this, again, what it says is that a definitive vyavastha is okay in isolated cases. In relative cases, it is okay, because that's how it is done. Because otherwise, if there is no vyavastha anywhere, no laws, then life would become meaningless. That's not the case. Life is very meaningful because there is a vyavastha in specific cases. But here's the thing. If our attitude is, which it is, that I'm going to figure it out by having a relationship with this world, this is not going to happen. Why doesn't it not happen? Because the vyavastha may be appropriate for isolated cases, but at the end there is no vyavastha. There is no vyavastha. And as we were discussing last week, that it is an uncomfortable feeling, that how come you can say there is no vyavastha? And in fact, the dialogue that happens between Vedanta and the non-Vedanta also, we get accused that you are Mayavadins. Everything is just dismissed as something Maya. This is now how we should behave. This is not the way to make progress. So you have to explain things very well and give a very specific idea of how to make progress in life, and you guys just dismiss everything, and then this is not right. So here, this is an important thing which will come up in, I'll wait for, and please wait for about 15-20 minutes when we start discussing the distinction between, a very important distinction between Buddhism and Hinduism. This will it'll be interesting. So just wait for a while. But anyway, I just want to continue with this trend that what we say is that vyavastha is okay in specific cases, but in terms of the overall solution to your life, please understand there is no vyavastha. Number one. And much more important than that, there is no need for a vyavastha. This is important. It's not as though you leave it there with the left high and dry and say, I'm sorry, there is no solution. But there is not the way we approach our life. So this is what is called anirvachaniyam. Anirvachaniyam. The Maya is anirvachaniyam means, so vachaniya means one which has vyavastha. This is another way to look at it. Vachaniyam means vyavastha, exactly. And so another way we look at is, we are neither satvadis or asatvadis, we are something in between. And the in-between, to look at the in-betweenness, which is the very definition of mithya, is an important aspect for us to gain full freedom. And so it is almost like, the ornaments of a metal, like a golden ornament, it is neither not there nor there. And so, really speaking, all of my experiences in my life are like my ornaments. Ornaments. I am the gold, and all my experiences are like the ornaments. Or another way to look at it, that if you look at a role and an actor, there is no role without the actor. But the role is not the actor. Just look at it. There is no role without the actor, because the actor's form permeates into the role. The height, the strength, the weight you talk, all of that is all permeated through the role. I think I told you this, it just reminded me of, I'll just make that point, that there was a very famous British actor whose name I forget, who was being interviewed in NPR, and I was driving. This is like 15-20 years ago. I was just driving and I just happened to be reading this, listening to it. So the questioner were asking him, who taught you acting? How did you learn? Like those dialogue was going on. So this person said that there's a long lineage of English, people who taught me. And he says, when I was a young person, he gave one example, which is, I still remember that. He says, the one thing that told me is, and I think I've told you this before, I remember having told you, but maybe a long time ago, that my teachers taught me that the role of the person depends on exactly what is being depicted. So for example, you look at Godfather, which I think he was discussing that. He says if you look at Godfather and how he behaves with his people and so on and so forth, because he is so tough and so feared that he should not move around very much. He says the best thing for a godfather, he says, I learnt all that too, is to be very quiet. The rest of the people are saying, sir, do you want coffee? No. And he doesn't even look at people. He's just like a stone. And he says, this is a very important part, because you don't see very important people fidgeting and, and doing this, that, or the other. That means nervousness. I'm not sure whether this person likes me or not. But this person is very self-assured. He just sits there, and he has to talk to someone, he'll just like this. Yeah, okay. So anyway, so what I'm saying is that the person's form and the way he talks and so on permeates through the role. But the role is, now for example, this person, even though he's capable of, his personality has, you cannot have a godfather who is frail and, is hardly can stand up. They can't do that. You got to have a big, strong kind of like a person, And so, but the role is not the person. So exactly the same situation is with us, really speaking. We are someone who is incredibly important. In fact, one of the things you should think about is, if you want to set a goal, you want to set a goal for yourself in understanding, which is the truth. It's not as though this is an artificial goal. I'm just telling you, this is the truthful goal that you should set for yourself is, you cannot move. You cannot move. You don't need to move. You cannot move. If your identity is with a moving person means changing person, specific person, going from place to place. If that identity is what you have, then that identity is with the role, not with the person. In fact, you cannot move, you cannot, because you are the Atma. It's kind of like, if you have a car, space can move, but the space cannot move. And so there is no place that the space can go or not go. That whole issue is irrelevant. That is the reality of the Atma. It is not subject to any space. It's not subject to time. It's not subject to relationship with people. Nothing. It is an independent non-movement. This is the goal. And if you have the identity, and that is the Paramatma, and in fact the identity with a specific individual that you and I are is a role. It's like you make a room space. The room space is a role. Space is the actor. So really that is our goal. If you want to find out, do I understand Vedanta? Yes. Do I understand myself? Ask yourself, where is my identity? If it is with a very specific person moving around, then you're not there yet. And then if the identity is that I am non-moving, because there's no place where I am not, my consciousness, my awareness, not me as the consciousness, me as the awareness, me as the person, me as the Paramatma, may act as a Jivatma. That's a different thing. But my identity is never there, as it's never lost. So this is the distinction that we have to make. And so closing the loop on the topic of the Vyavastha, see, just closing the loop on that, and then we will continue. As long as the Vyavastha is that I am definitely a room space, but I don't like this room space, I want to change. This is the Vyavastha. And it may be okay for individual transactions. You see, individual transactions are okay. Like, for example, when you are packing to go on a trip, then making sure that the space is well utilized, so you can just have a carry-on and not have to put your through the luggage and in check-in, not a check-in, but just that part is okay. But if you are thinking about who are you, then the Vyavastha has to be abandoned. And so to close the loop on that, the Vyavastha is neither possible nor necessary. And in fact, the whole dialogue that happened, not dialogue, but just comparisons and so on and so forth with the other schools of thought is with the following thing. The other schools of thought, non-Vedantic, which means all doubts, and our own doubts, not forget about our own doubts, they are structured by other schools of thought, is based on the fact that everything that I see is real. This is the wrong assumption to begin with. So you take it to be real, and then you prove, well, it is not real. As we will see in the Buddhistic, that's a very important thing. I'll come to that in some time. Anyways, this is the topic under which these 4 verses are being talked about. So now let us look at some specifics of this. There's a lot of detail on these, 40, 50 pages of lots. So we can go to a lot of classes on this, but I just want to give you an overall sense. Now we go to number 7. Vibhutim prasavam tu anye. So anye means people other than Advaita Vedantins, all other schools of thought. Anye manyante, they think. What do they think? Vibhutim prasavam. And also Shrishti Chintikaha. Shrishti Chintikaha means that they are thinking about how this whole thing came about. Shrishti means the creation, means the whole world, what we see in front of us. And so they are the Chintikahas. They are absorbed in analyzing creation. And now we analyze what they say and what is the problem in what they say. So the important thing is to say that they feel that the Shrishti is real. Srishti is real, when in fact it is not. It's kind of like, we were discussing that the snake, that the vision of the snake is, I saw it, so I cannot see something which is not there. And we say, yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can see something which is not there. And so to look at Srishti as something, because I see it, it must be there, we say no. No. It frightens you, it engages you, but eventually when you look into it, you find it is not there. There is no vyavastha. There is no need to have a vyavastha. Why? Because this is all roles. And to see it as a non-vyavastha with no roles, you have to now come back to yourself. So there is no need for a vyavastha. Anyway, so that comes later on. But let's now analyze the different kinds of schools of thought. The first one is vibhutim. Vibhutim. So vibhuti means a power, some kind of like a some siddhi that you have. Vibhuti means that some kind of a special power that you have. So here, very interesting analysis, very important analysis. So Swami Maheshananji, I found throughout, including in this section, follows the Shankara Bhashya very well. And we have chosen not to do Shankara Bhashya and just to sort of summarize it in non-Bhashya language. But I'm just telling you that all of the explanations of Swami Maheshananji are very sincerely following the Shankara Bhashya. So here's an example. So Shankara explains Vibhuti as a Vistaraha. Page 225, I'll tell you the exact reference. Yeah. So he says, भाष्यकारा इस प्रकार बताते हैं, विभूति विस्तारः ईश्वरस्य सृष्टि इति सृष्टि चिंतिका मन्यन्ते न तु परमार्थिक चिंतानां सृष्ट आदरः इत्यर्थः. Let's just analyze the Shankara Bhashya. Okay? So Shankara says that the real meaning of the word Vibhuti is Vistaraha. Vistaraha means expression, expansion, letting people know. Like, for example, supposing you have some thoughts which people don't know. Now you want to express those thoughts so that people can understand what your thoughts are. That would be called your vibhuti. It's called Vistara. Okay, so this is one. Now, next point is, when does a person express himself or herself? So there's a couple of cases. One is where there is some necessary transaction that have to be done. Then you say, I'm hungry. And then so on and so forth. That's not what we're talking about. But supposing there is no need for someone to talk. No need for someone to talk. And you talk. What is the reason for it? Shankara says, I don't take my word for it, don't take Swami Maheshananji's word for it, these are Shankara's words. It is because the person is not completely satisfied by just staying as you are. You feel somewhat uncomfortable. I want to express myself. And in fact, one of the aspects of this is the empty vessel makes more noise. More noise. And if the vessel is full, there is no noise. That means you find people, is kind of like the old example I gave about the Godfather, although that's not relevant to this. But a person, see, now here's the thing. This is a very good example that Swami Maheshananji gave. Beautiful example. He said that supposing there is a 5th or 6th grader, some young person, 11 or 12-year-old, and they are given some chemistry lessons in the school. And they say, by the way, you know what a salt is? It is a mixture of sodium and chloride. Sodium chloride. The person says, wow, this is wonderful. Now, you feel I've got some new information. So he comes home and he tells his mother, this dish does not have enough sodium chloride. His mom says, what? What are you talking about? She says, yeah, it doesn't have sodium chloride. She says, what are you talking about? I don't understand you. Because she doesn't know what, So he says, Mom, don't you know? It's called sodium chloride. So can you imagine a scientist who is well versed, who actually discovered that it is sodium chloride? Can you imagine that person talking like this? No. He'll say salt. And this is interesting because the two examples, Swami Maheshananji gave this example, and this is one of the favorite things Swami Dayanand used to say that. He says, what happens is when I first teach to someone and everybody's saying, wow, this is good stuff. This is Vedanta. You're not the body. You're not the body. You possess a body, but you're not the body. So then, I still remember this. Swami Dayanand used to say that letters will come to me. And he says, this body wishes to see you. When can this body come and see you? This mind is very anxious. Not say, because you're very careful, you don't say, I want to see you. You say, this body, this is example of a 6th grader who has just learned that salt is really sodium chloride. So you keep on saying sodium chloride. So now, look at this. So, Shankara says, Vibhutim Vistaraha Ishvarasya Shrishti iti Shrishti Chintikaha. So look at the connection, beautiful connection. He says, the Shrishti Chintikaha, the ones who really look at the Shrishti as a reality, think that the Ishvara wants to express himself. There's something uncomfortable about him. Something he's not quite, because he wants to show off. Yeah, that's the right word. That's the right word. That Ishvara wants to show off. That look, I can create this. All the moons and this, that, or the other. No. Because, why can we say no to that? Because it violates the very principle of vibhuti. In fact, this is what happens. You have these, many of these people that they create milk out of this. And then others can float in the air. And so this is a showing off. It has nothing to do with the reality, but you want to show off some kind of a power. So Ishvara is not like that. Why not? Because the very definition of Ishvara is he is the ultimate Godfather. No need to show off, just quietly. So that cannot be. That's not the reason for it. And so then we will say, what other the reasons cannot be? Why is it? What is possible? That we will examine later on. But this one, it is not there. So now we say vibhutim prasavam tu anye manyante shrishti chintika. So in looking at the explanation of Shankara Bhashya, it says by just simply explaining it, you also negate it. That this cannot be a feeling that Ishvara is uncomfortable. He wants to express himself. No, that cannot be. Okay, now the next one is, this is where the Buddhists come in. Now I'll explain that in a minute. Oh yeah, to finish off this word, this sentence, so vibhutim vistaraha ishvarasya srishti iti srishti chintikaha manyante natu paramartha chintikanam srishtau adaraha ityarthaha. Means that if you look at from an overall standpoint, then you will know that this is not just kind of a showing off. This is something deeper than that. What it is, we will come a little bit later on, but it is not just showing off. That's what it says. And the second line is Swapna Maya Swarupa iti Srishtihi Anyaihi Vikalpita. Others look at this as a swapna. As a swapna. So now let's look into that part of it. So this is an important thing. So what the Buddhists say, that the world has no reality. And we agree with them on that. Okay? All right, before I do that, let me give you a definition of some technical definitions that you should be aware of. This is an advanced class, you should be aware of that. So there are at least 3 different ways that we channel your thinking in terms of coming up to the truth about things. 3 different ways. So one is called Avachinnavada. Avachinnavada. The second one is called Abhasavada. And the third one is called Pratibimbavada. I'll explain all 3 of them. Avachinnavada means the explanation of reality by giving examples of seeming enclosures. So when I give the examples of the room space versus space, that is Avachinnavada. It's called Avachinnavada. Avachinna means, I don't have, I should really write it all down in one of these days. I think we'll do that. But anyway, so Avachinna means some kind of an enclosure. Is seeming limitation. It's called Avachinna. So by following the Avachinnavada method of thinking, you distinguish between one which is not enclosable, which seemingly gets enclosed. This is the Vada. This is the way of looking at it, just like we have done about space and room space. The second one is called Abhasavada. Abhasavada means that it appears to be unreal, and in fact it is unreal. Unreal in the sense that it just disappears. It just disappears. It just after a while it just is not there, therefore it cannot be real. It's called Abhasavada. The third one is called Pratibimbavada. Pratibimbavada means bimba and pratibimba means reflection. Reflection of something is called pratibimba. And the way you explain the reflection and the way you look at some things, that way of explaining things is called Pratibimbavada. So now we say, Swapna Maya Swarupa Shrishtihi Anyaihi Vikalpita. And so means that both are very similar. There's some small difference between Swapna and Maya. But let's just look at Swapna first. So now we say, Anyaihi, here we refer to Buddhists, who say that the world is a swapna. And so it appears that the Buddhists and the Vedantins are similar, and in fact should be the same. The Buddhists came out of Hinduism alone. And because they made a separate philosophy, that just means that they don't agree with what the Vedic philosophy is, Vedic knowledge is. So that means there has to be some distinction. And so we need to understand what distinction is. Not way of criticizing the Buddhism, but in finalizing our own knowledge. So Buddhists say that the world is a swapna. There is no reality to it. This is called a abhasavada. And we say we are Pratibimbavadis, not Abhasavadis. On specific cases, you might say that it is just looks like it, there is no reality to it. We can be specific, on specific cases we can be Abhasavadi. But if you look at the overall explanation of it, we say no. No, it's not. Why not? So this is the important thing to see. If you look at some kind of reflection in the mirror, the reflection is unreal. And the Buddhists say that the image that you see is unreal. And we agree with that. But we go much beyond that to say you cannot have a reflection which is unreal without having something which is real. So our analysis of unreality is pointing out the reality, which we will go in the next, the 7th verse of the Mandukya. We haven't started on that yet. So therefore we say, you cannot say that this is, the whole thing is a swapna, unless you analyze the swapna in terms of who is dreaming. What doesn't change? What is the reality? And seeing the similarity between Jagrat Avastha and Swapna Avastha. And in all of those cases, continuing to look at the reality behind it, the bimba behind the pratibimba. But what we find, and I am not an expert in Buddhism, this is what my teachers have all explained, and my readings all confirm this. So you see this very well, is that the Buddhists do not analyze the bimba. They are very concerned about the pratibimba, that it is unreal. And they go into a lot of meditation that this is just, they're either Shunyavadins or, and they think that there are changes and so on and so forth. And then we say, that's okay, but we should not be too it's like, you're watching your image. And you are looking at, exactly how the image behaves. How is that related to the state of the mirror? How it is created? It's good to look at it, but then the main thing is to go back to what is being reflected. And what we find in Buddhism is that they spend 99.9% of their energy in examining the pratibimba, not the bimba. When it comes to bimba, I have no idea what they say. Some, their own moksha, and they do not analyze it very well. They don't understand. There's a vast difference between Hinduism and Buddhism. Vast difference. You can imagine the difference is that really what you should do, yes, the pratibimba does reflect you. But what is it that you reflect is much more important. So this is the distinction. And the same thing, by the way, is the Maya. The Maya. So the Maya here would be means magic. So a lot of people say this is the magic of Ishvara. And the Srishti is a magic of Ishvara, which it is, no doubt about it. But they go into a lot of detail about how the Maya takes place without examining the reality behind the Maya. And it is, Swami Maheswaranji points this out very well. And in fact, I think I may have talked about it in the last classes, that he says the way to really understand hypnotism is not to get hypnotized and then say, what happened? I don't understand this. You can enjoy it if you want to. But supposing you don't want to get hypnotized, supposing you don't want to get drunk, you have to focus on something who is doing the hypnosis, not the hypnosis itself. And then if you do that, you find there are people who do not get hypnotized because they are watching the guy, his words, you are analyzing the person who is hypnotizing you. You're not analyzing you're not getting pulled into the hypnosis, but you're really focused on the person. How is he doing it? I want to learn this too. Then if you do that, you don't get hypnotized. And Swami Maheswaranji points it out so well. He says, nowadays, for us to really understand this should be a lot easier because of movies, because of television. Why? Because what happens is that you get so absorbed in the picture, especially, the TV is just a small one, but supposing you go to a movie house where there's a huge screen, and then very soon after you've had your popcorn and so on and so forth, you're just sitting there, and then all these loud ads, commercials that come in, that so on and so forth, then the movie starts. And when the movie starts, you get pulled into the very story. And as you get pulled in, you get transformed into living, as part of the movie. You cry and you laugh, and your whole personality gets absorbed into it. And Swami Maheshananji says this is just like that. It's kind of like Maya. And you can enjoy it if you want to, that's okay. But supposing you don't want to really get in on all of that, then what you need to do is to see where is the light coming from. How is this movie being created? What is the nature of the screen? If you do that, you do not get, supposing you go to this tragic movie, and then you find that there is some crime being committed, and you're scared of it, and suppose you don't want to scare it, but you have to go along with the family members. They said, no, you also come. You also come. You said, no, I don't want to see all of this. They said, no, you have to come. So you go there, and then the way not to be influenced by that is to look at the whole movie screen, and not while the things are going on, you see the light and how it is projected. You're analyzing, is this, I think, how many people are sitting here? So you don't pay any attention to that, then you are not influenced by it. So here also, Swapna Maya Swarupa iti Shrishtihi Anyaihi Vikalpitaha means that either through Swapna or through Maya, you do not explain the whole thing as nothing but Swapna or Maya, but is a possibility where you have that, this is a Vibhuti. You have that Vibhuti. And here our acharyas say that look at the Vibhuti that you have. This is a very amazing power that Ishvara has given you, that in the Swapnavastha, look at the hints for analyzing our life. In the Swapnavastha, you have the ability to be totally absorbed in the movie. And the interesting thing is that the movie is you yourself created. You create your own movie and you get absorbed in it. Then you cry and laugh and so on and so forth. But then, like a switch, you turn it off. Gone. Doesn't it show that you're independent of it? That has no effect on you? And in fact, the Vibhuti of Swapna or a Maya, either one to look at it, should be now extended into the Jagrata Avastha. And you should see that the Jagrata Avastha is nothing but a more elaborate form of Swapna. And in fact, this is another analysis of the Shankara Bhashya that Swami Maheshananji gives. He says, we are not Swapnavadis, we are Swapnavatvadis. Means that the way to analyze is as though this is a Swapna. It is not a real Swapna. This goes into a lot of semantical, beautiful, really. If you have time sometimes and you know Hindi, then you can, I don't see this in English books anywhere. Anyway, there's a lot of very beautiful semantic analysis about Swapna and Swapnavat. But the main thing there is, which is the overall thing, that do not get absorbed in analyzing your experiences as though you can completely understand it. You can never completely understand it. The scientists and so on, so if the whole idea is, I'll figure it out somehow, I'll read enough books and I do this, so on and so forth, it's not going to happen. Ultimately, what you have to say is, you are the solution. You have to really see the goal, that I am the one who doesn't participate in anything. I'm independent of it. And if you don't understand it yet, that's fine. None of us really completely understand it. But we must direct ourselves towards achieving that goal, as opposed to seeing the whole world as nothing but a vyavastha. This is the topic. This is what is being talked about. And now I think we have established the... so starting with number 6, prabhavaha sarva bhavanam satamiti vinishchayaha sarvam janayati pranas cheto amshun purusha prithak. And so that is just the introduction to it. And then we say, what do the others say? And what is the problem with that? So in summary, we say that it is, so here, for example, the Buddhas say that the samsara is asatyam. And if you look at the scientists, they will say, what are you talking about asatyam? It is satyam. And we will figure it out how the Big Bang happened. And we'll explain it to you. It is satyam. It's satyam. You look at it as reality. The Vedantins say it is neither satyam, with the samsara. It is neither sat nor asat. And in fact, there's a very famous Shruti Vakya which says, Sat chet na vinashyeta, asat chet na pratiyeta. Beautiful. He says, Sat chet na vinashyeta. That supposing it was sat, it would never be destroyed. And asat chet na pratiyeta. And if it is completely not there, it will not appear like that for you. Anirvachaniyam. The whole Maya and the samsara and the whole thing is anirvachaniyam. It's like you cannot keep on analyzing how is the gold appearing as an ornament. It does. That's the vibhuti. And so analyzing the content of it, analyze the gold, not the ornaments. So this is the trend here, and this is the topic, and that is all captured by the word vyavastha and avyavastha. Very nice. And then a couple of more. Ichha matram, number 8. Ichha matram prabhoho shishti iti shishtau vinishchitaha kalat prasutim bhutanam manyante kalachantikaha bhoga artham shishti iti anye krida artham iti acha apare devasya esha swabhavaha ayam aptakamasya kaspriha. So I think in the next class we should be able to finish both 8 and 9, and then we'll be ready to go back to the Mandukya, the important verse of the 7th verse of the Mandukya. So we will go back to it. So with that, I'll close the class today. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Go Brahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam Yuka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyaha Prithvi Sasya Shalini Desho Yam Shobharahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Asato ma satgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Yeah, Shilpa.
You said that we are expression of Atma. We are that, but we are expressed as we are.
Right.
So, but after this, after this body, our Atma still, goes to where it came from, right? That's our karma, whatever. That goes on when we take, different body. So how is that one with the consciousness or Atma? Isn't that like it's like a drop of water? It's still water, and it has its own destiny that fulfills as it goes on.
So here, what we say is that there is a thing called Sukshma Sharira, which is the very content of a jiva. The content of a jiva is a partial content of the jiva is the Sukshma Sharira. And the reality of the Sukshma Sharira is the Atma. Okay? So the Atma never goes anywhere. So there's no change, there's no travel or anything. But the Sukshma Sharira, it's kind of like, visualize this as if you look at an ocean, then a particular wave in the ocean which has some personality is the Sukshma Sharira. It has a Sharira also. But unlike the wave, supposing it has some consciousness, supposing there is consciousness in the water, then the wave, even though it might disappear in the present form, might reappear in some other form and continue to be a wave. That's what happens between one life and the other. But the reality of both the Sukshma Sharira is that it is the Atma which doesn't move at all. It's like the water doesn't move. And so the Atma never goes anywhere. It always stays the same. Yeah. Yeah.
So, when we were talking about Buddhism and Hinduism,
Mm-hmm.
obviously Buddhism is an offshoot of the Hindu
Yeah.
philosophy. So the deviation happens with the differentiation between the bin and the Buddha.
Correct.
So, and we focus, the Vedanta focuses on the bin.
Yeah.
So what reality is that, and what is that the issue? And what is the limitation in not being able to understand?
So I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand your last part of your question. So what is, say that again?
So what is our limitation in not being able to understand
Okay,
the reality?
I see. So that is just that's just the offshoot of ignorance, that everybody is just a progress towards knowledge. So if you look at a child being born, it is completely engulfed in ignorance. He doesn't know what's going on, who the father is, what the mother is. But slowly, the ignorance of the child is uncovered by knowledge. This is my mom, this is milk, this is a toy, etc. And as you grow up, then this is language, this is music, etc. So similarly here also, this is all progression of the same thing. You can get hung up on just analyzing and it is, the Buddhists do a very credible job of analyzing the world. And but their genesis of Buddhism is ignorance. And why is it ignorance? Because there's only one way to see reality, which is Adhyatma Vidya, which is Vaidikam. Anything which is not Vaidikam is ignorance. And so if they do a very excellent job of explaining their ignorance. And so you get caught up in that, and you feel that it is a vyavastha which will give me a lot of happiness. And in fact, Buddhism is very much associated with meditation. And so you can actually get some lot of peace. But we say that peace is not real, because when you come out of the meditation, you are back again to the reality. That's not what we're talking about. So the limitation is simply that we are all progressing to that point. And even within Vedantins, we don't completely understand it. It's not as though I get the whole picture just like that. I'm also evolving.
So at some point, is Vedanta asking us to transition from the logical explanations to faith-based?
No, not at all. So you need to understand there's no question of a faith does not enter into the picture at all. But it goes from a logical explanation into a personal anubhava. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So we talked about Vistara, Vibhuti.
Correct.
Expression, expansion.
Yeah.
When does a person expresses himself?
Yeah.
So when does that same as Bahish Prajna is an extrovert. He expresses.
Well, let's just wait for the explanation of Bahish Prajna. It hasn't come yet.
Oh.
So you are bringing it.
That first shloka was Bahish Prajna and Karika 1.
Yeah, we did. We did. Yeah, you're right. I'll have to see perhaps any subtle differences between. Yeah, so that could be that they are very similar to that. It's very possible. I'll have to. I cannot answer it without double checking to see what it was. Yeah.
I want to go back to last week. I want to make sure if I understand you correctly. You said the self is not achintya. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. That's true. So the pratibimba is achintya. Or it could even be look at chintya, either one, either achintya or chintya, because it's like looking at the reflection of yourself in the mirror. It cannot be completely analyzed. You cannot write a PhD thesis on why my reflection looks like this. There are millions of explanations, so many factors that come into being. So it is not something that can be analyzed fully. All you can say is that it points out to something which is you. You cannot analyze. I'm just talking about, I'm moving now from a looking at a mirror, which is the bimba is also a body. So there you can analyze the body, how long, how come my hands are cold, like that you can do. But in terms of the Atma, which is the real bimba, it is you. And so all you can do is to shed misconceptions about yourself. And when you do that, there is nothing to analyze. You are what you are, and you are beautiful. You are, in fact, never born, never to die, and always present. And there is no analysis for it. There is no need for an analysis for it. You are exactly that. That is the moksha. So it is something like that. So all these theories about Chintyantvam and Achintantvam, etc., all pertaining to Pratibimba, not to Bimba.
So self is Chintya, I just want to, because it says...
So the self in that sense is, in that relative definition, we can say that the world is achintya. Achintya means that it cannot be fully analyzed, it cannot have a vyavastha, right? But you can say that the Atma, for the time being, is chintya. There is some definiteness to it that you have to analyze. And the definiteness of that is that it is wrongly associated with the personality. We'll go back to it. We probably have not enough time to go into this. But in summary, yes, the self is itself can be chintya, it can be analyzed fully. But that also is an intermediate stage, because as I said earlier, that you cannot, I think the best way to look at is the Atma doesn't need to be analyzed. Only Anatma needs to be analyzed. And the Atma's analysis consists of disassociating itself with Anatma. Yeah. Yeah, Shilpa?
So, we're talking about Vibhuti, that is,
Yeah.
You said that we created whatever that we are seeing, our own life or whatever.
Right.
Right from, taking birth.
Yeah.
With certain parents and that, environment and so forth. So wouldn't that mean that if we made it, we are able to change it whenever we want?
You only have partial control over it. You have a free will to change some of it, but you still have a lot of prarabdha karma, even sanchita karma, those that you cannot completely change. So you have only a partial control over it. And in fact, the most important control you have is to gain freedom by looking at the whole thing as nothing but swapna, except for yourself. So that's the, but in the meantime, if you're not able to do that, you can have partial control over your future, but not complete control over your future. Yeah. All right, so we will see you next week.